This is day 183 of the Storm experiment. No seed oils, no meat, no animal food products, no highly processed foods, barefoot walking in the jungle, and exercise. So, finally, back in the jungle, and it's close to evening time. It's afternoon, close to evening. So, I've been quite busy the entire morning doing my design work and stuff. But then, no, I decided like I should come out because it's not good like to. What's happening with my camera? Something is weird. It's like tilting, like, let me just set this. So yeah, sorry about that. So my body, it has a way of telling me, like, when I need to reconnect with nature. And even your body can tell you, when you're in a habit of always coming into nature. If you stop for a few days, like, your body will tell you somehow, like, you need to go and reconnect yourself back. And that's actually a really good thing, because it helps you to keep yourself physically in check. And you can keep on being consistent with your progress, and it's quite peaceful and quiet. Nobody's around. And I think I need to practice more talking on the things that God wants me to talk about, so that I'll be able to help more people with my life, with the things that I'm doing, and maybe hopefully to inspire others, to be able to take back control of their health and their life. And because there are many people out there who are really struggling with their health, with their fitness and everything, and just because they lack the knowledge of how to live a balanced kind of lifestyle. We need to make sure that we balance rest with movement, and movement with rest. So it's just these two things, rest and movement. These are the two things that we need to balance into our lifestyle. And if we are moving too much, we need to learn how to take rest. And if we are being lazy too much, we need to learn how to incorporate more movement into our life. And but these things are really important. And one more very important thing is our diet. We need to make sure that whatever we are putting inside of our body, it is clean, it is close to nature, it is not something that is highly processed. Stay away from all these highly processed packaged food, like chips and all these sweet creamy biscuits, and all that fancy high process factory made food, filled with chemicals, with additives that are really actually not doing any good for our body. They are only like designed for making us crave, designed to trick our taste buds into thinking like we're putting something good inside our mouth, but they're actually causing a lot of harm. So these three things are really important. We need to balance. So as I was saying, like, these three things are really important. Moving our body and resting our body and putting clean food into our body. These are the only three main things that we need to do. We need to incorporate into our lifestyle so that we will be free from these lifestyle diseases, like a few days back, I had a cousin brother who came into our town, for his for some checkup and stuff, and I asked him, and he's like, having some kind of blood pressure, and he did his test and everything, and the only thing that was required for him to do is to change his lifestyle, and because I think he's not incorporating much kind of physical activity into his life, and he's also not maintaining his diet, not eating properly, like clean proper diet. So over time, this adds up, and you begin to gain weight. You begin to have some kind of blood pressure, and you begin to feel sick. So I've been there. I've also been there, years back when I was overweight, and constant doctor visits, constant medications, and made me to finally decide to change my lifestyle, change the way I live, incorporate more movement, more walking, and eventually adding a little bit of jog, and eventually adding a little bit of challenging exercises, and in parallel to that, trying to maintain a proper healthy diet, and cutting off these unhealthy foods slowly, one day at a time, because it's really difficult to overcome these cravings that you have developed over the years, and to be able to overcome them, you have to do it slowly. You have to reduce the amount of those kind of junk food, unhealthy food that you are eating, and eventually you'll get back control of the way you eat. So I remember how I did it was I challenged myself, for the entire week I'll be eating clean, and then only once a week I'll be eating whatever my heart wanted to eat. So as a reward of me being able to eat clean for the entire 6 days, and on the 7th day I just rewarded myself with whatever I wanted to eat. So, that is how I tricked my body into cutting off all these junk food and fast food and unhealthy food, to a point where now I've upgraded my challenge and challenging myself to stop eating seed oils, so there's another very interesting challenge that I'm starting right now. It is to minimize my spending habits. So I've decided that I won't be buying any new clothes anymore. Like, I'll just be using the ones I have right now until they are no longer like okay to be used. So this is like a way of me like trying to control my expenses, and get rid of this unhealthy spending. Sometimes I just like it just a few weeks and months back I was like spending like anything, just buying stuff that I wanted, but I didn't need it that much, right? So at least it was not like just going crazy buying stuff and stuff that it's actually going to have some benefit for me owning that stuff, but then it's not like it's not like a survival kind of stuff like that I really needed. So I'll be challenging myself not to buy stuff anymore, and to only spend my money on most important thing is proper diet on the food, and just paying my normal electricity bills and phone bills, internet bills. Those are like I cannot avoid those, but then the things that I can avoid, I will avoid spending money on those things that I can actually live without. So just a way like to be able to check on my expenses and to be able to save up for the future, so that I won't feel this pressure of a sudden bill that I have to pay, like that I cannot avoid. And that gets a little bit crazy. But then as I was mentioning about the video yesterday, I got really emotional because God just pulls me out of these kind of situations as a way, as a lesson for me, like to stop spending too much on things that are not that required, and yeah, so that is what God is doing right now. And I want my life to be more about intentional living, like to live my life with intention, and and to make people aware about things that that they normally aren't aware about. Like for instance, like the clothing that we wear, we have to make sure that the fabric uh, it's a healthy kind of fabric, right? It's either cotton or linen, and not unhealthy fabric like polyester, acrylic, all this stuff. So if in case they need to buy clothing for themselves, to make sure that they look at the labels and invest in the proper fabric that will actually be beneficial for their body, their health. But then when it comes to clothing, the biggest upgrade will be like if we can have the skill of getting our own fabric from nature, viewing our own clothes, and that'll be a total game changer. It'll be like a kind of a self-dependent, sustainable kind of living. So that is the ultimate level. So the next lower level to that is just buying sustainable clothing, that are made out of natural fabric and dyed with natural colors that are not harmful for human health. And and buying it from local people, who are trying to make a living, by hand weaving these clothes, or naturally extracting the fabric out of nature, and that doesn't harm nature, and using natural dyes, that doesn't harm human beings who wear these clothing. So that is the next level. Then a level lower to that is like if because these sustainable kind of fabrics like are a little bit expensive, because they are made by human hands, not by machines. So if in case we are not in that level of to be able to afford these kind of clothing, we can go to the next lower level, is trying to choose, if we are going to a mall, try to choose 100% cotton or 100% linen, and to stay away from polyester and acrylic, and if possible to buy from brands that are making products keeping in mind not destroying nature, not destroying this planet, and who are having eco-friendly way of producing all these things, all these clothing. So that is one thing about clothing. And the other thing I want to talk about, to make people aware about, is the kind of food that we need to buy, that we need to put inside our body. And the ultimate level of that is to be able to afford your own land, to grow your own food, free from chemicals, free from pesticides, just naturally growing them and eating them. That is the highest level. At the same time, we will be self-dependent, and also have a very healthy body, by eating self-grown organic food, But then if we are still yet at at a point in our life where we cannot afford land to cultivate our own food, to grow our own food, then the next thing that we can do is just to make sure that we are buying all our fruits and vegetables from local markets, that are, as much as we can, that are not treated with chemicals or pesticides, and to try to stick to natural food, like vegetables and fruits, more of vegetables, more of fruits, more of lentils and chickpeas. And because when we talk about meat, the commercial meat that we get nowadays in the market, those animals have been treated with so much of antibiotics, and we are indirectly consuming that. So that's why I try to avoid meat, stay away from meat. The best way to have meat is if we can get a grass-fed meat. Where the animal has had a very good life, healthy life. I mean, that kind of meat, even if you have it, it's not going to be of any harm to your body, but it will actually help your body, right? But then the only problem with today's modern world is commercial meat is highly treated with medication, with antibiotics. So if we don't have land to farm our own animals and to grow our own crops, we can at least take these steps, try to buy veggies and fruits from local markets and make sure that they are as organic as possible, and to try to avoid commercial meat, and especially to avoid highly processed packaged foods, Dark, so that'll be it for today. I'll be heading back home, and thank you so much for watching and for being with me on this journey. Take care of yourself, eat clean, enjoy your movements, keep walking, and take rest, and do it all for the glory of God. Okay, so I'll be seeing you back again tomorrow. Bye bye.